Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we kick off another week. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Boy, I did. It was nice and sunny most of the time. We did get a little rain, but had a wonderful weekend. Had some fun out on the golf course yesterday with my buddies. And now it's time to kick off another week. And boy, we have a lot to cover today. California Governor Gavin Newsom is standing by and allowing rioters to take over the streets of Los Angeles, and his only response is to compare the protest against federal agents to sports celebrations in Philadelphia. Can you believe that? I have the full story. Meanwhile, President Trump signed a memo deploying 2,000 National Guardsmen to California. If Newsom won't control the madness, President Trump says he will. And a California Democrat lawmaker was widely criticized by conservatives on social media after posting a message online telling federal agents arresting the illegal immigrants in Los Angeles to get the you-know-what out. Wow. After ABC's Terry Moran said President Trump and Stephen Miller were each world-class haters, he found himself being suspended by the network over his post, which has now been deleted. The chairman of the Democrat National Committee practically broke into tears on a recent Zoom call because he says David Hogg is stealing all of his thunder and that people don't even know who he is. And finally, last week's raid on an illegal nightclub outside of Charleston, South Carolina, that resulted in over 80 arrests of illegal immigrants is coming under fire from the immigrant community, saying that the raid was harassment. Wow. We got a lot to cover today. We'll check in with your emails and your text messages as well. What a weekend.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Los Angeles, and once again, California authorities are standing by while a bunch of thugs take over their streets. Fox News correspondent Chanley Painter sums it up in this report.
In Los Angeles, demonstrators have been squaring off with law enforcement for the last 2 days while several immigration operations were conducted across the city. Officials in riot gear had to use tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse crowds going after ICE officers and damaging and robbing property. This video shows a car set on fire as protesters circled it, waving the Mexican flag. Officials say more than a dozen people were arrested Saturday, including one who allegedly threw a Molotov cocktail that hit 3 officers. The unrest in Los Angeles began Friday when more than 40 people were arrested across the city. President Donald Trump took to Truth Social, saying this in part, quote, "We have an incompetent governor and mayor who were, as usual, unable to handle the task. These radical left protests by instigators and often paid troublemakers will not be tolerated."
Folks, this entire story about these riots that broke out over the weekend in L.A. is just a glaring example of how completely detached from reality progressives have become. Because right now, L.A. isn't just grappling with crime, with their homelessness problem, with failed policies. It's being rocked by full-blown riots, chaos that's spreading like wildfire. And what does Governor Gavin Newsom's office say in response? If I hadn't read his statement for myself, I wouldn't believe it. He's literally comparing the riots to celebrations after an Eagles playoff game in Philadelphia. It's not a joke. Izzy Garden, Newsom's communication director, told Fox News Digital, and I quote, "LA riots? Have these geniuses ever seen what happens when the Eagles win a playoff game?" Wow. So let me get this straight. Violent mobs torching cars, throwing rocks at law enforcement, and launching coordinated attacks on federal immigration officers, they're just sports fans letting off steam. That's all it is. Except I'm not sure what sports team in L.A. has won anything recently. However, I mean, this is just an example of the modern Democrat Party, is it not? They look you in the eye, they insult your intelligence, and pretend that nothing is wrong. Everything's okay. It's all Donald Trump's fault, of course. And we'll get to that in just a minute because, yes, Gavin Newsom did not miss an opportunity to blame Donald Trump. So let's talk about what's really going on here. These aren't celebrations. These aren't street parties. This is lawlessness. This is what happens when leaders vilify law enforcement and allow law enforcement to be vilified, when they glorify illegal immigration, and they treat federal agents like the villains. So let's kind of review the timeline here. ICE agents under President Trump's direction began carrying out lawful deportation raids across Los Angeles. These are operations to remove people who are not supposed to be in this country, many of whom have criminal records. You wouldn't think that Los Angeles would want them in their communities. You would think that they would be patting President Trump on the back for getting these people out of their community. But what happens? Well, instead of support from the city or the state for federal law enforcement officers, they were met with hostility. Mobs formed, violence erupted, rocks and projectiles have been thrown as ICE officers were injured when a rock shattered the windshield of a federal vehicle. This is domestic unrest. This is violent interference with the rule of law. And what did Governor Newsom say? According to Fox News, he called the immigration raids chaotic and reckless. He said Donald Trump's actions are, quote, eroding trust and tearing families apart.
Governor Newsom had this to say, quote, "The federal government is moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers. That move is purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions."
Not one word condemning the people for throwing the rocks. Not 1 ounce of sympathy for the brave men and women of law enforcement. Not a moment spent acknowledging that these ICE agents were doing their jobs, lawfully, I might add. But here's the kicker. When confronted about all this chaos, about the burning cars and street violence, what does the governor's office do? They minimize it. They mock the outrage. They compare it to Eagles fans doing demonstrations and celebrations in the streets of Philadelphia. Let me ask you, have you ever seen an Eagles fan torch a federal vehicle? Has that ever happened in Philadelphia when the Eagles won? This is the progressive playbook. Deny, distract, deflect. Blame law enforcement, never mind the criminals. Protect illegal aliens over American citizens. And then, when the consequences of their failure are laid bare for the whole world to see, they mock you for caring about the rule of law. Let's give credit where it's due. Republican leaders in California, they aren't staying silent. Congressman Darrell Issa said it best. Quote, "Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have a real habit of letting Los Angeles burn." And we've seen Mayor Bass do this. We've seen her in action, haven't we? And the congressman's right. It's become a pattern. Just like they let the Palisades fire rage with no accountability, just like they let homelessness explode and public safety collapse, now it's riots in the name of illegal immigration, and they want to make jokes about it. They want to downplay it, to minimize it. Even actor James Woods, a rare voice of Hollywood sanity, took to social media to say it flat out. Newsom is an all-purpose, all-around loser. Well, Mr. Woods, I'd say you need to lead the effort to get Gavin Newsom out of there and to get someone in the governor's office who actually has some common sense. Of course, then there's the Department of Homeland Security. And thank God that there's still some adults left in the room. They're not backing down. They're not letting this bother them. Tricia McLaughlin from DHS said the men and women of ICE put their lives on the line to protect and defend the lives of American citizens. The violent rhetoric of these sanctuary politicians is beyond the pale. This violence against ICE must end. And she is right. She is right. And that's why President Trump stepped up over the weekend and signed a presidential memorandum to deploy 2,000 National Guard troops to California. That's what Gavin Newsom was referring to when he claimed that Trump's actions were just making the issue worse. We're stoking the fires, if you will. President Trump is sending in National Guard troops to California, specifically to the city of Paramount, just outside of Los Angeles, to ground zero for these riots, to try to get some order restored, to try to help these ICE agents do their job. Because here's the truth. If Governor Gavin Newsom can't or won't do his job, the federal government's going to have to step in and do it. Now, I would rather the state do their jobs first. I would rather Newsom cooperate, but we all know he's not going to, right? So it's time for Donald Trump to do his job, and that's exactly what he's doing by sending National Guard troops in. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. One more thing before we leave the issue of the riots that broke out in Los Angeles. And it's not just Newsom who seems to be downplaying this or minimizing what's happening there. A California Democrat lawmaker has been widely criticized by conservatives on social media after posting a message online telling federal agents who are there arresting illegal immigrants to get the F out. Here's Representative Norma Torres's post on TikTok Friday as the protests and riots were breaking out over the raids. She said, ICE, get the F out of L.A. so that order can be restored. Now, who does she think is trying to restore the order? The illegals are taking over. ICE shows up to do their job, and she says that they're the problem? Well, her comments, as you can imagine, quickly had conservatives reacting to this video, accusing Torres, who was born in Guatemala and became a U.S. citizen in the 1990s, of supporting and promoting the violence and vitriol against ICE officers that unfolded over the next few days. This past weekend, conservative influencer Lives to TikTok said this is a sitting member of Congress. It is kind of hard to believe, isn't it? Conservative influencer Paul Cifula posted on X, Torres is a sitting member of Congress and a complete lunatic. Stephen Chung posted on X, demonic possession. Right, conservative influencer Benny Johnson called Torres deranged in a post on X, and several users, including Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers, called for Torres to be expelled from Congress. And that might be something that she at least needs to be called out, right? Also, on X, the conservative influencer known as Cat Turd said, arrest her now. And James Lindsay posted, found a communist in Congress, and that is for sure. Stephen Miller also had something to say, said, make it an ad. And that's for sure. We will see that in some Democrat ads next year in the midterms, right? But look, if she thinks, and if Gavin Newsom and if Karen Bass thinks that just by their protests and their criticism that this is going to go away, they're in for a big surprise, because Tom Holman had a very clear message for the rioters as well.
You can protest all you want. You got your First Amendment rights. But if you cross that line of impediment, or you're putting hands on officers, or destroy property, you will be prosecuted. We're already ahead of the game. We're already mobilizing. We're going to bring National Guard in tonight. We're going to continue doing our job.
And that's exactly what President Donald Trump did. Never one to mince words. He signed a memorandum deploying 2,000 National Guard troops to California, and again, specifically to that area. Because here's the truth. Gavin Newsom's not going to do it. He's not going to do his job. He's going to sit back and allow these thugs to take over and to create chaos on the streets. Karen Bass is not going to do it either. So what we're witnessing here is a complete failure of leadership in the Democrat Party in California. And not just failure, but betrayal. Betrayal of the law. Betrayal of American citizens. For people in the Los Angeles area and Paramount specifically, who are just law-abiding citizens, they don't want this in their neighborhood. I mean, have you seen some of the images, some of the video of a complete intersection that the police just had blocked off so that some innocents couldn't walk in to there or drive through there, and just allowing these thugs on their motorcycles with Mexican flags just take over the area? They have the complete area blocked off. So let's just kind of break this down a little bit further. Why the riots? Why now? Because ICE was simply doing their job. Because President Trump had the audacity to enforce our immigration laws. Because a few people were held accountable and deported. And instead of accepting that, the far left base, they're losing their minds. They can't believe it. The Democrats, they've fanned the flames. They've justified the chaos. They poured gasoline on the fire, and they're blaming Donald Trump now because streets are on fire, because cars and buildings are being burned. That's Donald Trump's fault because he incited these people to riot. He had his agents enforce the law, and so it's his fault. But to be fair, it's not just Los Angeles. It's not just California. Because as this chaos in Los Angeles unfolded, agitators in New York obviously were probably watching CNN, saw what was happening, thought, well, we want part of this. So they started their own protest. Here's Fox News correspondent Chanley Painter again.
Meanwhile, in New York yesterday, nearly 150 protesters lashed out at police and tried to block federal authorities from conducting immigration raids in Lower Manhattan. And more than 20 people were arrested in that chaotic scene.
So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a choice. Do we want to live in a country where violent mobs can rule the streets, can take over a complete area of a city like Los Angeles, where illegal immigration is celebrated, where law enforcement is treated like the actual enemy? Or do we want a country where the law means something, where our borders are secure, and where leaders back the brave men and women who serve and protect, the men and women who protect those borders, who make sure that people do not come across those borders who don't deserve to come in to our country? Folks, I know where we stand, and I think I know where you do too. We stand with law and order. We stand with ICE, and we stand with President Donald Trump, because that's why we elected him in November. And we will never, ever let this country be hijacked by the radical left's agenda of chaos, lawlessness, and open borders. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. The White House fired back yesterday after ABC News correspondent Terry Moran went off on Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and President Donald Trump in a now-deleted social media post in which he called them both world-class haters. Now, Moran, again, wrote in the now-deleted post, Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. He went on to write, you can see this just by looking at him, because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. He continued, Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only is a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. Now, this is the guy, again, an ABC News correspondent who sat down, who was given the opportunity for an exclusive interview with the president not too long ago. And now he comes, and he's supposed to be a journalist. He's supposed to be impartial and report the news. Does this sound like a journalist to you? Does this sound like he's impartial? White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded to the Post on X, calling it unhinged and unacceptable. Leavitt also joined Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures and told host Maria Bartiromo that Moran was supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist. We all know that's not true.
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist. This is unacceptable and unhinged rhetoric coming from someone who works at a major television network. We have reached out to ABC. They have said they will be taking action, so we will see what they do. But I think this speaks to the distrust that the American public have in the legacy media. And it's why in the White House press shop and in President Trump's White House, we have made so many significant and much needed changes to press access and transparency at the White House. We've invited in new media. We have shaken up the White House press pool. And we also just won a major victory over the Associated Press, who thought that they had a constitutional right to walk into the Oval Office or to fly on Air Force One, and a judge said no. In fact, those are privileged spaces that belong to the President of the United States, and this is a great ruling for democracy. We fought them in court, and we won, and so we will continue to keep or hold journalists accountable. All we're asking for is truth and transparency.
As you can imagine, Stephen Miller was not going to let this get by without responding as well. Miller wrote, "The most important fact about Terry's full public meltdown is what it shows about the corporate press in America. For decades, the privileged anchors and reporters narrating and gatekeeping our society have been radicals adopting a journalist pose. Terry pulled off his mask." Vice President J.D. Vance also called out Moran yesterday, said the Post was dripping with hatred. And the vice president added, "Remember that every time you watch ABC's coverage of the Trump administration." And he's right. Now, it didn't turn out so well for Mr. Moran. ABC spokesperson told Fox News in a statement, "ABC News stands for objectivity and impartiality in its news coverage and does not condone subjective personal attacks on others. The Post does not reflect the views of ABC News and violated our standards as a result. Terry Moran has been suspended pending further evaluation." So I guess ABC does have some standards, huh? Or they realized that they just couldn't get past this one, that he had gone a little too far. Now again, remember the history here. Moran interviewed the president after his 100th day in office, during which Trump called out the ABC correspondent for his questioning at the time. Maybe that's why he has this deep-seated resentment against the president. But he was given the opportunity to sit down with the president of the United States in a one-on-one interview. Yes, Trump accused Moran of not being very nice during an exchange about the deportation of illegal immigrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Trump told Moran, "They're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you. Terry, but you're not being very nice." Moran also pressed Trump on his relationship with Russia. Trump responded, "I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You're so happy to do the interview, and then you start hitting me with all these fake questions." So maybe that was just the lead or the beginning of this relationship that was going nowhere anyway. But still, Moran should have been responsible with the idea that he had a chance of a lifetime in interviewing the president, and I think he just blew it. I don't know that ABC can have him back in the same capacity. Do you? Text me, email me. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Can we sing Kumbaya? Are you in the mood to sing today? Can we sing Kumbaya for Democrat National Committee Chairman Ken Martin? Here's a story from the New York Post. DNC Chair Ken Martin vented about party vice chairman and Parkland shooting survivor David Hogg to the point of he almost came to tears in a recent call with top Democrat brass, saying, "No one knows who the hell I am." Martin bluntly admitted in an emotional call where he almost seemed to cry. This was leaked audio from a May 15th Zoom meeting, which was obtained by Politico, by the way, that he has thought about not continuing in his role as DNC chair because of David Hogg.
It has plenty of warts, and I'll say, look, it has plenty of warts, and we're all trying to change those for sure. But the longer we continue this fight, the harder it is for us to actually do what we all want to do, which is make a difference in this country again. So I deeply respect you, David. I too was looking forward to working with you, but this has created a situation, and I'll be very honest with you, for the first time in my 100 days on this job, and Jessica knows this, the other night I said to myself for the first time, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And partly not because of the stress and all the naysayers, right? I'm used to that. I've spent 14 years as a chair. I'm used to getting beat up on. But, this is really everything, from this election, this credentials report, and how Malcolm's been treated in this, to, the fact the election itself, how Shasti and Gina were treated in this. I'm just quite frustrated to be in this position, because what you've done, whether you like it or not, or know it or not, David, is no one knows who the hell I am, right? I'm trying to get my sea legs underneath of me and actually develop any amount of credibility so I can go out there and raise the money and do the job I need to put ourselves in a position to win. And again, I don't think you intended this, but you essentially destroyed any chance I have to show the leadership that I need to. So it's really frustrating. Gene.
I mean, you heard right there at the end, he just almost really broke down and cried. Now, that's where Politico ended the recording, so I don't know what was said after that. Martin was elected the head of the Democrat National Committee back in February. He has been very critical of the fact that he feels like he's in the shadow of David Hogg, who is very quick to ignite firestorms on a lot of different issues. David Hogg is just loud. He commands the room. He has ignited a firestorm within the party over his plans to fund primary challenges against other incumbent Democrats. He's an officer of the party. That's not allowed. But they can't seem to get rid of the guy. Martin said during the call in which he singled out Hogg, "No one knows who the hell I am," right? Because Hogg has such a high profile. As you heard towards the end of the leaked audio, Martin's voice grew kind of soft. He paused a couple of times there, appearing to be on the verge of choking up. The DNC boss told Hogg, "I deeply respect you," which I kind of suspect he really doesn't, and was looking forward to working with you. Look, they have a problem with David Hogg. They just don't know what to do with him. According to the story, about 10 people were on the call. The Post reached out to the DNC and to David Hogg for comment. Hogg later posted text messages with Politico, who broke the story initially, as evidence that he was not the one who leaked the audio. Nobody knows who did, but I suspect David Hogg probably played a role in that. He just didn't do it directly. Martin has been adamant that he's not going anywhere after the audio was leaked, that he's going to stay the course. David Hogg is adamant he's going to stay the course too. He's already raised millions of dollars that he's going to use to try to beat incumbent Democrats. It's going to be interesting. Get your popcorn, folks, as we watch the midterms. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, If you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. I know we talked a lot today about the situation in Los Angeles and how the Democrats, the progressives, are just rallying around these riots, this disruption, the chaos that these folks riding on their motorcycles and marching through the streets waving their Mexican flags. If you tuned in to NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, you'd think it was just a group of Girl Scouts holding a bake sale out in Los Angeles, because Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, and a man who never met a leftist riot he couldn't excuse, told America that what we're seeing in L.A. are peaceful protests.
Reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. And again, any violence against police officers should not be accepted. Local authorities can handle that. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings, who are trying to abide by the law. He's arresting them.
Yeah, that's right. As rocks fly, as ICE agents are bleeding, federal property goes up in flames as they set these federal vehicles on fire. Senator Booker says, it's all peaceful. Just some people exercising their freedom of speech, nothing to it. He claimed that the chaos, of course, is the fault of Donald Trump. President Trump is daring to enforce immigration law, for daring to arrest people who, quote, were just showing up for immigration hearings. No, the people that are being arrested, first off, in addition to being criminals because they came into our country illegally, they also, many of them, are wanted in their countries for things like murder, rape, child abuse. There's a whole list of things. As Tom Holman has said over and over, and as we've seen in some of the records, some of the documents have been released, these are the worst of the worst. So let's be clear here. The people that Trump's administration is arresting are illegal immigrants. Many of them, again, criminal records. Some of them repeat offenders. And all of them, again, are in violation of our federal law. But I guess in Cory Booker's America, that apparently makes them victims. Meanwhile, law enforcement officers just trying to do their jobs, they're the bad guys. They're the targets. Booker even said that Trump was being hypocritical. I mean, listen to this. Because he pardoned some January 6th defendants as if the invasion of a federal courthouse and burning down a car and attacking federal agents, waving a foreign flag, is somehow morally superior to walking through the Capitol Rotunda while staying within the velvet ropes. The left has just lost their mind over this. Meanwhile, remember the arrest during the raid last weekend, this sting operation at a nightclub in Charleston County, South Carolina, where federal immigration officials, in conjunction and partnership with local and state officials, arrested over 80 people. Some of the people present during that 3 a.m. raid at the Alamo that simply said that, well, it was a bit of inconvenience, that people were just there to have a good time. Alejandra de la Vega said that the venue, which is, again, located in Somerville, which is outside of Charleston, was just a place that she could go, or he, I'm not sure which one it is, it identifies as trans, just a place to dance with friends. He told reporters, I went to the Alamo to enjoy the night just like many others, but instead of fun, it turned into fear and humiliation. Well, Mr. Ms. De La Vega, maybe you need to choose where you go. Vega had just stepped out of the restroom when he said police stormed in, guns drawn. Patrons were running and screaming, he said, as more officers streamed in and ordered people to the ground. It was chaos, De La Vega described. County, state, federal law enforcement officers questioned about 200 people that night. Now, De La Vega is here legally. De La Vega wasn't breaking the law. Although I guess you might make the argument that the fact that he was at a illegal establishment was breaking the law, but maybe he didn't know that. Maybe he didn't know that this club should not have been open. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But the Department of Homeland Security had gotten involved in this investigation and had been going on for about 6 months, we're told. SLED announced criminal charges after the fact against two people, the club's 59-year-old owner, Benjamin Reyna Flores of Hanahan, South Carolina, and 44-year-old security guard at the club, Tyrone LaVince Lawson of North Charleston. Now, Reyna Flores faces multiple charges related to the unlawful sale of alcohol. Again, the club should not have been open. The club had no alcohol license, did not even have a business license. It had been shut down previously because of illegal activity. Lawson faces illegal gun and drug possession charges. According to warrants from SLED, Lawson had 2 grams of meth, an 8-ball of cocaine, and less than a gram of some type of psychedelic mushrooms in his van. Police also found a pair of handguns in the van, which Lawson cannot legally possess due to past convictions for burglary in 2008 and assault in 2003. So think about that. Your security guard cannot legally have a firearm because of convictions, previous convictions. Also arrested included 2 unidentified high-level cartel members associated with the Mexico-based Las Zetas cartel and the Venezuela-based Tren Arriga gang. One person was wanted by the Interpol for murder in Honduras, and the Department of Homeland Security agent Cardell Morant said there were many others who were taken in among the 80 who had other criminal activities in other countries. They also had 10 juveniles as young as 13, including one reported as missing, as well as an unidentified number of potential human trafficking victims were at the club at the time of the raid. So you had this club serving illegal alcohol, should not have been open to begin with, and there's juveniles there, there's 13-year-olds there, there potential human trafficking victims there. Wow. So back to this De La Vega, who said that it was harassment, who was upset that his dance party was interrupted. De La Vega is described by the South Carolina Gazette as a transgender Latina woman who has lived in the U.S. since 2001. Officers questioned the validity of her state-issued ID card as well as that of the transgender woman that she was there with. De La Vega has legal residency in the U.S. and was not arrested. But, again, 80% of those arrested last Sunday did not have legal status to be in the country. The vast majority were arrested on civil immigration charges, not criminal violations, we're told. 5 people were arrested for criminal offenses. Homeland Security confirmed to the Post and Courier that Sergio Joel Gala Baca is the Honduran man wanted for international homicide. Beyond SLED's announcement last week, no other names or list of charges have been released yet. We are told more charges are coming. This is just an example of how law enforcement at all levels, at the local level, because the Charleston Sheriff's Office was involved, SLED was involved, state law enforcement, and, of course, federal officials. And many people have complained that South Carolina has not been cooperating or working with the federal officials, that Governor McMaster has not given them or has not deputized them or whatever to make these arrests. Chief Kill of SLED said it's not needed, that Governor Master does not need to deputize state law enforcement officials because they already have that ability to make arrests when it involves illegal immigrants. Now, as you can imagine, there are some complaints, and the American Civil Liberties Union of South Carolina are complaining because several families do not know where their family members are. They have searched their names online using immigration and customs enforcement databases, people to locate the state and center where detainees are being held. They can only assume, based on news reports, that their family members are at an ICE holding facility somewhere in the United States. I hate it for them. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.